This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
Hey everyone, today's guest is Limahl, lead vocalist for the English new wave pop band Kajagoogoo. Together we dissect the writing, recording, and inspiration behind the massive global hit song, Too Shy, taken from their 1983 debut album, White Feathers. Limahl tells the story of bartending at London's world-famous Embassy Club years ago, and serving a drink to none other than Nick Rhodes, the keyboardist for Duran. Well, sometimes you gotta take your shot. And after exchanging pleasantries, Limahl mentioned that he had a band, with Nick casually providing him with an address to send a demo. To Limahl's surprise, Nick called a week or so later, and the rest is history. The band, along with Nick Rhodes, hired producer Colin Thurston to helm the project, and 42 years later, it still sounds killer. Hearing Limahl describe the excitement and buzz within and around the band during this time is infectious. So for all this, and a musical lesson as to what an EBO is, stay tuned.
Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast.
Okay, Limahl, I think a good place to start. And you can't believe everything you read online. But I understand that you met Nick Rhodes, the keyboardist from Duran, while you were working as a waiter at the Embassy Club in London, and Nick agreed to co-produce the first single that we're going to talk about today, Too Shy. So let's talk a little bit about that. Is that true?
Yeah, the Embassy Club on Old Bond Street, a fabulous street, beautiful architecture, real history. It was Princess Diana's favorite shopping street. And now it's like everything is very high end down there. Unbelievably, back in 1980, there was a nightclub on that street. The go-to clubs in London at that time were Steve Strange's club, The Ritz. That's Steve Strange from the band Visage. They got a lot of press about that club because Boy George was hanging out there, and Marilyn and Spandau Ballet, etc. And the other go-to club was the club I worked at as a waiter, the Embassy Club. And there were always paparazzi outside trying to catch a snap of the celebrities. I served drinks to Lemmy from Motorhead, who was always playing the fruit machine, the slot machine, and losing. And he would, as he got drunk, he would start attacking the machine, and the security would be called, and there would be a scene. And I have since learned that he actually had fruit machines at home. So he was a real addict. I served drinks to Elton's manager, John Reed. Gary Newman was in there, the girls from Bananarama, Steve Strange and Boy George both came down. One night I served a drink to Nick Rhodes from Duran, the keyboard player. And I was a big fan of Duran at the time. And he was there with his one of the managers. There were two managers of Duran, which was Paul and Mike Barrow, the brothers, who owned the Rum Runner Club in Birmingham, where they were discovered. And I served him a drink, and I'm very you know, I'm probably gushing a bit. Oh, I'm such a fan, and I've just bought your album, and blah, blah, blah. I start telling him about my band, Kajagoogoo. And at this point, Kajagoogoo were kind of, we'd been and seen 6 record companies with our demos. We hadn't got the deal yet. Would we have got the deal? I'll never know. It's one of those what ifs. But amazingly, Nick said to me at the end of the conversation, well, send me your demos. I'll listen to them. He didn't say immediately, I want to produce you. Not at all. So I sent him a cassette. He gave me an address. I sent him a cassette for the younger listeners.
Yeah.
Look it up. Oh, boy. I still have some cassettes in my loft. I love them. So a week later, he phoned me. It was the early afternoon. I was living in Lancaster Gate in West London, near Hyde Park. And it was an old green phone. I remember it on the wall with one of those curly twirly cables.
Yeah.
And the old-fashioned ring. So ring, 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 ring. Hello. Hi, Limahl. It's Nick Rhodes. I got your tape. I really like the tracks. I'm going to take them into EMI Records, and I'll let you know how I get on. I'm not sure he said I want to produce you at that point. That detail I can't remember. But to answer a very long answer to your question, Chris, is that yes, Nick Rhodes introduced Kajagoogoo to EMI. They signed us. And actually, previously, they'd turned us down about 6 weeks before. So the old adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And of course, what Nick did, which was very smart, he brought the Duran producer on board, the late Colin Thurston. Mm-hmm. Colin was a great, from the old kind of engineer school. You know, I remember him hiring all sorts of equipment that he thought certain instruments needed. Nick was great as a sort of mentor. He was great on arranging. It was such a buzz. And of course, with 5 band members, and the guitarist wants the guitar louder, and the drummer wants the snare louder.
Of course.
You need a good captain of the ship who can say, hey guys, get out the studio and let us do our job. And I just want to say one other thing. The precedent of being introduced, you know, being given a helping hand is a common theme. And we saw it with, is Kate Bush famous in America?
Well, she is now because of Stranger Things, and so are you. We're going to talk about that later.
Sure. So, I mean, Kate Bush was given a helping hand by Peter Gabriel from Genesis.
Right.
And of course, famously, Gladys Knight introduced the Jackson 5 to Motown. Andy Williams, the crooner, introduced the Osmonds to the world via his TV show. And the list goes on.
Sure.
There's a big TV star in the UK who had hits in the 60s. Then they gave her a TV show on the national TV, terrestrial TV channel. Then she became, in the early 80s, she hosted a TV show for years that had huge ratings. Now, her name was Cilla Black. I don't know if you know of her. But her first song, her big hit, because she was from Liverpool, was written by Lennon and McCartney, and she was managed by Brian Epstein. So, you know, it's just another one of these wonderful serendipity moments where you meet someone and you just happen to be ready. You know, the Kajagoogoo demos that we'd been working on for over a year, the songs that we'd been writing, were just fell on the right ears at the right time.
I don't even need to ask you questions. You're just, this is perfect. You're answering everything that I want to ask you.
Sorry.
I know. No, it's awesome. I had all of this written down. You've answered a lot, but I do want to ask. I mean,
no, feel free to ask, because I'm happy to repeat.
Oh no, I'm over here just smiling. It's such a cool story because here you are, a kid, this budding musician. you're working, and I know it had to be exciting working at that club and seeing celebrities pull up the limo, and here you are, you're working there and you're networking, and all of a sudden, Nick Rhodes, the whole story is kind of unbelievable. There you are in your flat a week or so later. You remember the phone was puke green. You go and answer it, and it's like he's casually, "Hey, Limahl, it's Nick Rhodes." You had to be losing your mind as a young man.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit like, everything that was happening around that time was it was happening for the first time. So the first record deal, the first time in these big recording studios, the first recording contract, you never forget those first experiences. They stay with you. It's a bit like, your first record you buy, or your first car. You don't forget, you don't forget those things. And we were a bunch of 23-year-olds. We were so excited about everything. I don't know why. I was very optimistic. I always felt that it could happen. And I did feel that I was meeting interesting people all the time. I think I was too naive to kind of piece it together. And I'm not even sure that the word networking even existed then. I was just having fun. I was doing my job and just enjoying myself.
Was an album in the works at this point? Because being a dance band, it would lend itself to, hey, we're just going to cut a single, because that's kind of what you were going for. You were trying to get the singles and the discos, and if it got played there, it maybe could lead to other things. Was there a forethought of, hey, this is gonna be an album, or you were just cutting the Too Shy single at this point?
We were signed for 3 or 5 albums.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, before Too Shy came out. In the UK, that was January 83. I think it hit the American charts in June or July that year.
Uh-huh.
So we were recording the album in various studios while EMI Records were planning the release of Too Shy. I'm going to probably preempt one of your questions here. Did we have any idea that it was going to... Because I have been asked that many times, and the answer is a forthright no.
Yeah. I got to say something too. For a pop song that was this popular, it's a pretty strange song, and we're gonna comb through it in a little bit. It's not your traditional pop song. I'm gonna point out some things that are kind of a bit strange, to be honest, about this track. So yeah, how would you know? It wouldn't hit you over the head that this is completely obvious. It's a banger and it's a single, right?
I heard a great story today. It was so powerful that I played it twice. So in the UK, we had a very famous, very successful, dearly beloved radio disc jockey called Kenny Everett. He worked at pirate radio in the late 70s. He started in Liverpool, then he went in pirate radio, then he got hired by the BBC, then he was at independent radio. He was an institution. But he was based in London, and one of his good friends was Freddie Mercury from Queen. And Kenny was gay and Freddie was gay, and they lived quite close to each other. Apparently, Kenny got a call from Freddie, and Freddie said, "Hello, darling. We've been in the studio. We've got this new single, and it's 8 minutes long. I really don't know if it's going to be a hit. Now, I'm going to play it to you, but you can't play it. It's, blah, blah, blah." So he goes over. I think he had a reel that, back then it would have been a reel to reel. I think we're talking 1975.
Yeah.
And he played Bohemian Rhapsody. So I heard a radio special today celebrating, because Kenny Everett, the radio presenter, would have been 80, just turned 80 for his birthday. Unfortunately, he died at 50. But he's talking, obviously, retrospectively about how Freddie played this song to him and was unsure. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Freddie Mercury wasn't sure that Bohemian Rhapsody would be a hit. Can you believe that? He wasn't even sure that radio would play it. And at the end of it, Kenny said, this is in retrospect, he's speaking retrospectively, he says, this wonderful operatic juggernaut or something like that came out of the speakers. And I said, not only is this going to be a hit, this is a hit for centuries to come.
That's
and
awesome.
What he did, and Kenny Everett, if you look up Bohemian Rhapsody, it's all there. And I think it was in the film. Kenny Everett was featured as a character in the film Bohemian Rhapsody.
No kidding.
Which came out, 2 years ago. Kenny played the song 14 times on the next 2 radio shows because Kenny had a license to he was, radio is so confined these days, but back then he was in such demand, he could say, I'm a free spirit and I play what I want and blah, blah, blah. So he is credited with helping to break that record. Why am I telling you this story, Chris? I'm telling you because even Freddie Mercury didn't know that Bohemian Rhapsody would be a hit. In the early noughties, I did a theatre tour in the UK with Gwen Dickey, who's the lead singer of the 70s band Rhodes. And she told me that let me get the guy's name, the producer's name. Oh, gosh, I know this name. I've said it loads of times.
Roy Thomas Baker?
No, not Roy Thomas Baker was Queen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant
Yeah. You're on you're in the right area. It was, oh boy, I can't remember the producer's name, but she goes to the producer. This is lead singer of Rolls Royce, and she says, "Who wants to hear a song about washing cars?" And she didn't want to do it, and she didn't think it would be a hit. I mean, these stories are folklore in the music business, and we love them. And, and it's exactly the same with Too Shy. Nobody knew, in fact, I just remembered, yes, how could I forget such a detail? I've told this story before. I was in the EMI building at Manchester Square in London in the December before the single was released in January. And one of the marketing guys pulled me aside in the corridor on the 3rd floor. And he said, "Look, Limahl, your first single, Too Shy, it won't be a hit, but it will get you noticed," or something along those lines. And I remember being a bit miserable that Christmas because I took what he said and I thought, well, he knows what he's talking about. He's got the jacket and tie.
He's older than me. He's a pencil pusher. He's got a real job. He must know something.
Exactly. So he couldn't have been more wrong. I wish I could remember his name. I think I know who it is. I can picture his face, but if I did know his name, I could bribe him, perhaps. I could blackmail him or say I'm going public.
Well, you had mentioned a couple things, and we're gonna break into this song. But Too Shy was released January 10th of 1983. It went to number 1 on the UK singles chart and made the top 5 on the US Hot 100. I remember the summer of '83 well. We moved into our new house. My mom and dad bought a new house. My brother and I, we were setting up our home, and Kajagoogoo was definitely on the radio that summer. You also mentioned Colin Thurston, English engineer and producer. He's worked with David Bowie, Duran on their first 2 records, Human League. And as far as past Chris DeMakes a Podcast guests, Colin Thurston produced Howard Jones's debut single, New Song, in 1983 that we broke down here on the show. And Howard was awesome. The debut album, White Feathers, came out on April 18th, 1983. The record reached number 5 in the UK. And of course, Too Shy was the lead single and the second track on that album. The song is 3 minutes and 44 seconds. And man, you can tell you're a dance band because this is a 46-second intro, Limahl.
Yeah, it's not the longest in pop music, but it's up there, isn't it?
It is, and it only strikes me because this is the radio MTV edit. This isn't like a dance mix or anything. It's 3 minutes and 44 seconds, but if you look at a template of what a pop song is, okay, 10-second intro, a couple bars, then you're in the verse and you're in the chorus within 30 seconds. We don't get to the chorus till 1:14 seconds here, but it doesn't matter. with this particular track, it's perfect. The intro is a synth that fades up, and the drums come in with synth bass stabs on the 4 beat every time, while the synth is still continuing on these first 4 bars. On bar 5 through 12, the synth bass is getting busier, super funky with a couple slaps in there. On bar 13 through 20, a chirpy, clean guitar comes in. And again, that guitar is funky, kind of disco-esque. And the synth panned off left gets louder from bar 16 through 20. On bar 17, I think you say tide. Is that what you say?
What I'm doing at that point is I'm tuning my voice, and I was tuning up for the verse. I was going tide, and then they kept it.
Yes. I kind of thought you were going to say that. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's that organic process of a wonderful accident, if you like. Yeah, Colin liked it. I don't know whether it was Colin or Nick's or a joint decision. I don't know if they did a mix without it, because, that's what you do. You leave yourself options.
Are these analog drums at the top? Because you had talked about that, because they sound programmed, and we get some electronic drums I'm going to talk about in a second before verse 1. Those are definitely electronic drums that come in, but was this a combination of both? Because I thought it was all a Linn drum or something here.
So the drums are a TR-909 Roland, I think. And the reason, even though we had a drummer, it just made the record sound more modern, more contemporary of what was going on at the time. If you look at bands like Soft Cell, The Human League, Eurythmics, everybody was using drum machines in different ways. And of course, they're still doing that today, and even more crazier ways because of technology and what you can do with computers. Mm-hmm. But of course, the benefit was we could have a drummer live on stage. And Jez, the drummer, he was, we were all, in a way, we were like, it was toys for the boys. It was like Christmas Day, opening these synthesizers and trying out the Linn drum, and then the Simmons. Mm-hmm. The Simmons toms were in there as well.
Was that easier for you to, as a dance, I guess new wave, that term was coined back then. It seems like new waves come after the fact that people talk about it being new wave, but you were a dance band. Was it easier, you think, to tell the drummer, hey, we're going to use a drum machine because we're a dance band, versus, wait a second, I'm the big rock drummer here. You can't replace me with a drum machine. Do you think it was a little bit easier because of the genre you were in?
Well, it's interesting you describe us as a dance band. I mean, it is fascinating looking back that a song that's 110 beats per minute in those days would be targeted at DJs. So EMI made the decision to do white labels and red labels. I believe there were some red labels. They're quite rare. And they were literally sent out to, there's usually companies they hire that do all the mail outs and know where to mail to. And there was nothing on these red and white labels, no name of the band. We were just trying to create this mystery. And so everybody would be putting the needle on the vinyl going, what the hell is this? And then there was a good response at the clubs. But nowadays, of course, 110 BPM would not go to dance club.
No, that might put people to sleep, but it's
Yes.
weird. It's weird that this is 110 because I just think the way that the track is executed, it seems faster. It doesn't, it doesn't lumber and lull. We get a flutter of electronic drums, kind of panned off left and right, that takes us into verse 1.
Tongue tied or short of breath, don't even try. Try a little harder. Something's wrong, you're not naive. You must be strong. Ooh, baby, try.
Tongue-tied or short of breath, don't even try. Ooh, try a little harder. Something's wrong, you're not naive. You must be stronger. Ooh, baby, try. You're laughing for a lot of reasons. First of all, there's somebody speaking your lyrics back at you in a bad American accent. I think it's funny too.
It's when lyrics are spoken. I've seen it in quiz shows. They'll say, what famous song is this lyric from? But without the melody and the context,
you can't get it in your head.
You're going, I know it. What is it? Yeah, tongue-tied or short of breath. So our girl, I guess, is too shy. We learn that in the chorus.
Uh-huh.
Is she short of breath? Is she tongue-tied? Something's wrong. I'm not naive. You must be strong. Yes. Again, it's just really referring to, come out of your shell.
Was this about someone specific? Were you just writing a song?
Definitely not anyone specific. Otherwise, I'd know that fact. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what gave you the initial inspiration to put pen to paper? Did you have these lyrics written down and a lot of guys keep notebooks of lyrics and whatnot, or was this pen specifically for Too Shy?
Back then, I had about 3 A4 books of lyrics, and before the technology, and I would just jot stuff down. David Bowie famously used to take a bunch of words and cut them up, jumble them around. He's talked about this himself. And sometimes the lyrics don't even mean anything, but he thought that they scanned quite well musically.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. You may have heard that story. So I think there was a little bit of that, because the wonderful thing about songs is not only do you get poetry, you get music, and it can be quite infectious. It's what we colloquially refer to as the hook,
Uh-huh.
And I, being the music nut that I was growing up, I loved anything and everything. I was eating, breathing, sleeping music until I eventually got into the music business. As the guy doing this with his head, watching the vinyl go round, trying to learn where was it recorded, who wrote it, which studio, any pieces of information. So the lyrics are just playing with poetry, really, a subliminal meaning, perhaps, a fun meaning. I always feel that Too Shy is a feel-good song. It's not a heartfelt ballad like, let's say, Nights in White Satin or Bridge Over Troubled Water or any other sad song that you can think of.
I got to tell you, I've done over 250 of these episodes, and rarely do you get a lyricist. Rarely have I heard on this show or talked to songwriter friends that a song wasn't about something. There wasn't a muse, or there wasn't a love interest, or there wasn't, this certain thing. And I know that songs like this exist where it's like, this is just free conscious lyrics that you had spilled out. And I actually find that more fascinating. It's like, how did this come about, and why with this particular set of music did these lyrics get put to? It's so cool. A lot of cool stuff going on in verse 1. The same synth from the top continues out of that intro, but the drums, they go to like a cut beat here. On the second line, Don't Even Try. Underneath that line, we get a single electronic piano notes that come in. The guitar figure changes here in verse 1. It gets busier. And on the line, You Must Be Stronger, single piano notes again. They're very pronounced. It's a really good hook. And then we get into pre-chorus 1. This song, besides the intro and the bridge, you have a verse, a pre-chorus, and a chorus. That's really it, but they're all 3 different scenes to me, like a play. You got this verse and you go into pre-chorus 1, you're like, where are we at? This part is bizarre, but the part is so great because it acts as the way to lift into the chorus, and how the chorus happens out of that pre-chorus is so cool.
Hey girl, move a little closer. You're too shy.
Hey girl, move a little closer.
So on that section, Stuart, the keyboard player, his new toy was a Roland Jupiter 8 synthesizer, and you can actually see it in the Too Shy video. So he came up with that sound, and again, it just sounded like all our contemporaries, so it was a must-have, really. Nick, a bass player, originally had 35 words on I replaced it with 6. Hey girl, move a little closer. I remember saying to him, Nick, there's too many words there. And they went something like this. So if you can imagine the bong, 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 it's probably a bit faster than that. So it went something like this. When you were a babe, you were never lying, never stopped, so you never crying. Maybe I'm maybe we've fought because you're too shy.
Whoa, really?
And I have a digital recording of that.
No kidding.
It was on a cassette. I digitized it. I've played it at a couple of gigs for fun and say, this is how Too Shy started. The other thing that you should know, Chris, is that the recording that we're referring to was the 3rd recording.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, so it was
was
it like a John Peel session or something, or a...
No, there was a demo at home. So we had a little tape recorder, 4-track or something like that. Then there was a demo in a demo studio, and I cannot find it. Jez, the drummer, is a very good archivist, and he says he thinks he's got it somewhere. So I hope he finds it. It's been a long time, 42 years. So, a lot happens and people move house and blah, blah, blah. And the loft gets full.
Turn around, look at what you see.
Hey everybody, don't go anywhere. We got lots more coming up with Limahl after a few words from our sponsors.
Hey everyone, I'm thrilled to tell you about Frets and Refrains. This July, we're inviting you to join us in the beautiful Catskills at Full Moon Resort for a 4-day, all-inclusive songwriting and music in nature experience like no other. It's going to be a full week of incredible music, creativity, and connection. There will be one-on-one intensive songwriting and music making with Richard Thompson, family, and some incredible special guests. There will be intimate performances every night and hands-on workshops during the day, all while being surrounded by nature and a deeply relaxing scene around the brand new pool. Whether you're a seasoned musician, just starting out, or simply a fan, they've designed this year so there's something here for everyone. This is more than just an event. It's an opportunity to connect with the music, with artists, and with the amazing community of people who share your passion. Space is extremely limited because it's a truly personal experience. So don't wait. Grab your spot now. Everything's included: your lodging, meals, workshops, performances, and a whole lot of good vibes. Head to www.fretsandrefrains.com/DeMakes to learn more. Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with the Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
I think you're on mute.
Workday's starting to sound the same.
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
You may get a little excited when you shop at Burlington.
What a low price! You see that? They have my favorite brand! It's like a whole new Burlington! I can buy two!
I'm saving so much! Yeah!
Burlington saves you up to 60% off other retailers' prices every day. Will it be the low prices or the great brands? Burlington. Deals? Brands? Wow! I told you so. Styles and selections vary by store.
My day kicks off with a refreshing Celsius energy drink, then straight to the gym. Pre-K pickup, back home to meal prep. Time for my fire station shift. One more Celsius, gotta keep the lights on. When the 3-alarm hits, I'm ready. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want is a great feeling. Talk to a State Farm agent today to learn how you can choose to bundle and save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Hey everyone, Chris DeMakes here, and I've got some exciting news. Chris DeMakes a Podcast is now on Patreon. Your support is what keeps this show going, allowing us to bring you deep dives into amazing songs from incredible artists every week. When you join our Patreon at chrisdemakes.com, you'll get instant access to hundreds of episodes of The After Party, our weekly bonus show where producer Chris Fafalius and I talk music history, trivia, tour stories, classic albums, and whatever else comes to mind. Plus, you'll get early ad-free episodes of Chris DeMakes a Podcast, unedited video versions of each episode, and, of course, a brand new episode of The After Party every single week. If our show brings you a little joy, help us keep it going strong for just a couple bucks a month at chrisdemakes.com. Not ready to commit? No problem. You can sign up for a free membership while you decide. Thanks so much, everyone, and I hope to see you all at the After Party.
And now, back to the show.
The sound here in pre-chorus 1 is so cool. The drums continue, that synth bass as well, and we get a new, I called it a detuned synth that comes in. It's a crazy sound, and I mentioned a second ago, I'll say it again, we got a total scenery change here from the verse. It's so cool. This pre-chorus, it's like, whoa, what is this? And it's not very long. And then we get into the payoff. Minute and 14 seconds in, we're into chorus 1. too shy. Shy, hush, hush, eye to eye. Too shy, shy, hush, hush, eye to eye. Too shy, shy, hush, hush, eye to eye. Too shy, shy, hush, hush.
So that lyric was written by our bass player, Nick. He said it went something like this. He goes, "Hey guys, I've got this idea." And he's playing the bass. Shy, shy, hush, hush, eye to eye. And that's kind of how the song started. But boy, oh boy, did it go through some changes. But yeah, I loved it immediately because I like the two words. I like the sh, all the sh sounds. So hush, hush, shy, shy. There's a lot of shush sounds. So you need to ask Nick, where did that come from? He was a very creative guy. Exactly one of the reasons why I joined the band. Remember, they were a 4-piece band before they brought me on board because Nick felt that the demands of playing bass and being frontman was just too much. So I got hired. But when I went to meet them, I was quite picky myself and immediately recognized some really good musicians here. I liked their image. I liked their attitude. And of course, Nick stood out because he's quite the character.
Chorus 1, we get the first harmonies, Limahl, on too shy, shy, hush, hush, eye to eye. Shy, shy, hush, hush, eye to eye. Shy, shy, hush, hush, eye to eye. And the last line, shy, shy, hush, hush. All the top words at the top of those lines, your, and then two, two, two is just by yourself. Chorus 1, drums, synth bass, guitar, and those funky detuned harpsichord sounding synths are now in stereo, left and right, barking at you. And at the very end, the last hush, hush, we get a flutter of those electronic drums again to take us into verse 2. There's no re-intro here. We get out of the chorus, we're back into verse 2.
Modern medicine for short of your complaints. Try a little harder. You're moving in circles, won't you dilate? Baby, try.
Modern medicine falls short of your complaint. Ooh, try a little harder. You're moving in circles, won't you dilate? Ooh, baby, try. Dilating to me, that's a weird word.
Yes,
that's a strange word to get into a song.
It is a strange word. It's about if something dilates, it opens. So it's basically an arty way of saying open your eyes. Yeah, modern medicine falls short of your complaint. So what we're saying here is medicine can't cure you. It's not a medical complaint. It's something internally.
Oh, so you're calling out the shyness with that line, essentially.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Gosh, that's a strange line. Modern medicine falls short of your complaint. When you just read it and then you put it in context with this song, it's I don't know, it just brings a smile on my face. It's fun.
It was basically continuing the theme of saying, "Hey, girl, come out of your shell, and come and spend some time with me. Let's get to know each other." But again, just being creative with poetry and words that are interesting. And I remember reading an interview with George Michael, and he said, "If you heard the early stages of some of my work, you would be horrified." And that's what it's like. I mean, sometimes when I wrote lyrics for a song on an A4 sheet, on average, before we had computers and iPhone notes, I would often fill 5 pages, A4 sheets with words, and there'd be lines through stuff, and something would be moved around, then it would be tried that way. It's just trial and error. Mm-hmm. And what's important to mention here, Chris, is that you are basically looking at, let's say 1980s. So you're looking at 80 years of popular song, whether it's in film or theater or, radio hits, bands and singers. You've got to dig deep to come up with something new And that's never more truer than today, of course.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop people trying, and that's what we were doing. We were trying. We were, first of all, the musical pull in Kajagoogoo was so interesting because I was a little bit, I would say, I was the more mainstream of the musical pull, because I'd started in theatre, but when I was growing up, I loved Motown and TSOP, the sound of Philadelphia. I love pop music, but with a soul kind of edge. The drummer Jez was into the band Devo. The guitarist was into, he was quite keen on a guitarist called Robert Fripp.
Oh, yeah.
Stuart, the keyboard player, was classically trained. And then Nick was into Frank Zappa and prog rock. And he's been doing a lot of prog rock over the last 15, 20 years.
Now that you tell me he's into Zappa, that makes sense with some of the noises and weirdness going on, particularly in the pre-chorus of this song. It's a little bizarre, something that Zappa might maybe throw on a record.
So you've got to put all that into the mix of how it's like a recipe for a cake or a jigsaw puzzle. All these things are being thrown in, because you can't dismiss the influences. And I loved pop music. I listened to some of my first albums. I still love them. I've seen them twice live. Is the Manhattan Transfer.
Oh yeah.
So their vocals used to excite me so much, so clever, so tight, and that, of course, that jazz edge. But then I loved the Carpenters, and I loved Barry White. And God, what else did I have first album? All the Motown stuff.
But see, that's what's so cool about bands, and you wonder sometimes, and I've said this before on the show, it's like, oh, their guitar player quit. They got a better guitarist. Well, he might be technically more proficient, but the band, it's going to change. Whether you think that's better or worse, you can't recreate that. We all have our own fingerprints. Verse 2, same overall instrumentation as verse 1. We get those single piano notes on the second and fourth line again. We get into pre-chorus 2.
Hey girl, move a little closer, 'cause you're too shy.
Hey girl, move a little closer. Nothing changes here. You didn't come in with another lyric. Was that in the thought process? Like, hey, we need more information here, or was it always the same lyric?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Chris, because often as I've produced a lot of music over the years, and not always for myself. And we call it the second verse lift.
Yeah.
You bring in something new. But yeah, you're right. There's nothing new, but it still kind of holds you.
Yeah. And just the lyric itself, hey girl, move a little closer. I mean, there's a lot of connotations that could be taken from that. Move a little closer for what? It's kind of a powerful lyric, suspenseful in a sense. But right off of pre-chorus 2, we're into chorus 2. Again, same instrumentation. The harmonies are in the same spot here. But right off the top, instead of saying you're too shy, you say, 'cause you're too shy.
'Cause you're too shy, shy. Hush, hush, I do I. Too shy, shy. Hush, hush, I do I. Too shy, shy. Hush, hush, I do I. Too shy, shy. Hush, hush.
Another higher synth comes in halfway through, playing a different melody along with everything else. That synth is cool that comes in there because it adds a different element. That's the thing about this tune too, is there's so much going on, but it doesn't really keep building like a lot of songs. Like by the last chorus, you don't have like 30 instruments in. It's kind of like what you get is what you get. And I like the sparseness of that, but I think by chorus 2, you needed that higher synth. I think it's great.
Yeah, the synth line, I can whistle, it goes something like that.
Yeah.
It's a synth line that Stuart played. You've missed one really important detail on the second chorus, Chris.
Oh, wait, let me go back here. What did I miss here on the second chorus? I'm looking. Please tell me.
The end of the chorus, the second chorus, has an extra bar before it goes into the middle. So you'll notice that hush, hush is longer. It's a bar longer.
You're absolutely right.
And it kind of makes you feel like you're about to fall into that middle section.
That's why. Okay. Yeah, I did not pick up on that. And thank you. I appreciate that.
I love stuff like that in music. So you know who's very good at that? Trevor Horn. So also,
he's amazing.
Tempo changes. So you hear a lot of that on that brilliant record that he made with Seal called "Kiss from a Rose."
Mm-hmm.
It's such an interesting rhythm, and there are tempo changes, and there's extra bars, and he's the equivalent. He's our equivalent of David Foster.
I need to go back and listen to chorus 2 now. You got me sitting here. Now I'm in my head going, how did I miss that? But thank you. I really I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'm definitely going to go back and check that out. After chorus 2, we go into this bridge that, again, it's a new chord progression. It opens up a different world. We go somewhere else, but the interesting thing is we don't get any more information. A lot of times in the bridge, it's going to tie the story together. We're going to give them one more chorus, but we do get some vocals here we're going to get to in a moment, but it's not your typical lyrics. It's doing something else. The chord progression changes. It just gets, like I said a second ago, it gets into this new world. We get a 32-bar musical bridge. First 8 bars, drums, synth bass, and those other synths are all happening here in the bridge. On bar 9, we hear the wail cries of a rock guitar that start. I don't know how else to explain it. Lots of verb. It's a distorted guitar. It's kind of just wailing. On bar 17, we get a vocal that is stacked with harmony and lead vocals doing this do-do-do that is following the synth bass. And when I heard that part and I was listening to it, I said, okay, this is the one thing in the song that I could hear on like a Duran record. It's something that took a bite out of that. Was there talk about that? How'd that part come up with you following the synth bass with the vocal?
Everything was so organic, Chris. You mentioned the wailing guitar.
Yeah.
It was created with an instrument called an ebow.
Oh, it's an ebow, yeah.
It's an ebow. So guitarist Steve Askew, held this ebow. It's like a very like a magnet, really, just a small thing. And he would hold the notes on, choose the notes with his left hand on the fret. And this wailing sound would come on, and it would come on gradual and open up. And of course, Colin, threw some lovely toys on it. So it's a wonderful escape moment, isn't it? It doesn't really feel like it belongs there if you think about it, but it just works.
I'm glad you said it because, the intro and the bridge of this song are just kind of, whoa, it doesn't seem like it should work. And maybe that radio guy that stopped you on the 3rd floor, maybe that was his thinking. Hey, this is a good introduction song. It's got its catchy parts, but it's not a hit because on paper, it doesn't look like a hit. But, who knows what a hit is? Nobody truly knows. And we know that for a fact now. That crying guitar becomes higher in pitch and volume near the end of this bridge, crescendoing into another electric drum flutter that takes us into chorus 3.
Hush, I do I, to shy, hush, hush.
You still got me obsessing about chorus 2, how I missed that, Limahl. Jeez. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that. Chorus 3. Now, I wrote here, and I hope you didn't do that hiccup like chorus 2. I did not pick up on that here, but this is kind of like 2.5 choruses that end the song here. We're not getting really any more lyrical information. The first time that higher synth is more present in volume that came in on chorus 2. I feel like it's the last chorus. It's going to be a little bit louder here. We get the second half of chorus 3. On the last line, when you say hush, hush, the mix starts to fade. And then the last little half chorus we get, it's too shy, shy, hush, hush, eye to eye, too shy, shy, hush, hush, eye to eye. And by the last one, too shy, shy, hush, hush, eye to eye, the song has faded.
Yeah.
So now you spend a miserable Christmas thinking about your record is going to be a failure because this guy told you in January of 82. The track's released January 10th, and this kid was a 10-year-old boy at this point, 11-year-old, almost 11 years old. In the summer of 1983, I am hearing your song on the radio a short 6 months later in America. Congratulations.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. You know
That's pretty cool.
It is. Music travels. I mean, back then, before the internet and before a ton of streaming sites and TV channels. So in Britain, we did the Top of the Pops was the big music show. I guess the equivalent in the US at the time would have been something like Bandstand. So we did Top of the Pops. And then as the song exploded across Europe, because back then Europe really paid a lot of attention to what was going on musically in the UK and America. Those were the two big influences in Europe. So that suddenly we're on planes and we're staying at hotels, and I'm in cities I could have only dreamed of, doing the equivalent of Top of the Pops, or Bandstand if you like, in Paris, in Stockholm, in Madrid. I mean, the song, Germany, the song was #1 everywhere. It was incredible. And we were like, the schedules were crazy, and there were screaming fans on arrival. It was a bit of Beatlemania for a while, and we loved it.
Yeah.
It was intense, but come on, we're 23. We stay up late and get up early, and we just rock on. It was just, it was the best memories for me.
I'm so glad you said that. Thank you for sharing that. That's so cool that all these years later, you could just tell there's a real fondness and appreciation, and kind of like a pinch me moment. You were just this bartender at the embassy, that got his shot, so to speak, and 42 years later, yeah, here we are still talking about Too Shy. A couple more things before we break. We touched on it a little bit earlier about resurgence of things. Kate Bush, for instance. But in July 2019, The Never Ending Story got a huge resurgence from being featured in season 3 of Stranger Things. And also in 2019, Limahl and Kajagoogoo were featured in 2 episodes of season 9 of American Horror Story. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I wasn't familiar with the shows. There's so much choice, nowadays. And people say, have you watched those? And you say, no, I don't. I paid for 3 other streaming sites. I'm not on that one. I learned from my nephews who were like in their early 20s. And they, my real name's Chris, and they call me Uncle C. So I get texts, Uncle C, you're not going to believe it. And they're freaking out that I'm on. The American Horror Story was incredible because not only was the song featured, but they actually had Kajagoogoo as part of the storyline and an actor playing me. So just introducing the song to a whole new generation. And of course, the parents are going, oh, we know this song. We love it already. And you get this massive resurgence. And I think that's part of the reason the streams of Too Shy are up to 100 million, and Never Ending Story is double that. Never Ending Story, if I'd have known how important that song was going to be in my career, in my life, I would have gone to bed at 7 p.m. instead of staying out late.
I love that. Well, in June 2020, you released the single Still in Love, which was your first single since 2012. And you followed it with One Wish for Christmas that came out in November. What else is happening with you before we break here? Before we break, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk about this song. It's been a favorite of mine, and I know the listeners are absolutely gonna love this. So thank you so much. And what's coming up with Limahl and Kajagoogoo?
Well, there are no Kajagoogoo plans. You know, we barely speak really. Everybody's gone off doing different things. People have moved and living in other areas. I can't. You know, people ask every week online, any sign of a reunion, any chance for a reunion. You guys should get back together. I think it's highly unlikely now. But the wonderful legacy is there. People have the records and they have the memories. And I'm really proud of that. You know, when people come up to me and say, Too Shy was the first record I bought, or Never Ending Story was the first dance at the wedding, whatever it is, I'm just, because I have songs that make me feel like that. And that makes me really proud. I think the legacy of Kajagoogoo, and the only one album we made together before they fired me in that infamous phone call out of the blue, no warning, no 3 strikes and you're out. I just got the call, Limahl, we decided to do the next album without you. Completely unexpected. I was so shocked. I was quite hurt, really. And it will always remain one of the what ifs in my life, and we've all got them. What if we'd made another album? Would there have been another Too Shy? You know, what if I hadn't gone to that bar? I wouldn't have met my partner, my wife. If I hadn't gone to that meeting, if I hadn't gone, you know, I wouldn't have got that job, or whatever it is, you know. But I'm proud of the legacy and the one album. And, you know, as the singer, as the lead vocalist on the song, I've been performing the song for the last 30 years. People want to hear me sing it live. I get invitations around the world. You know, this year I'm going to be in Reykjavik in Iceland for the first time with a big multi-artist lineup. That's September, providing there's no volcanoes going off. I'm performing at Pride in Cologne in Germany in July. I mean, every year I never quite know where I'm going to end up. And I love that because I do like to travel. And I think travel is a great educator.
Agreed.
You know, about people and cultures and food. I love it all. Now, I really feel like I've led a privileged life considering my background, you know. As regards the future, for me, as a self-releasing artist, it's very tough. The music business nowadays is controlled basically by globalization came along. I mean, when Kajagoogoo were looking for a record deal, there were about 40 independent record companies you could go to nowadays. And then they were all swallowed up by the 4 conglomerates. So nowadays you've got Sony, Universal, Warner, and BMG, and that's it. Great if you've been signed one of those labels and they're pressing all the buttons and spending the budgets. So it's very tough. But I do still get a thrill from, I still write song titles down, I write down ideas. I still get a thrill from having an idea and then going into the studio, and then suddenly I've got this audio coming back at me and it's exciting me. I mean, my current single, I mean, you mentioned Still in Love, 120,000 views on YouTube. The Christmas song's up to about 70,000. I just hope one day that maybe they'll get used in a movie or a commercial or TV or radio commercial, and that will help them break through. Same with my current song, A Horse with No Name. It's time consuming and it's expensive. You make a video, you record, you pay musicians, you do the artwork, you hire a PR company, a radio promotion company, and I've done that in America and in the UK. And then suddenly at the end of that, you're looking at quite a spend, you know, and funds are not endless. So I need to get something back to motivate me to continue. A Horse with No Name has been around in my back pocket for a while. And my sister and my partner, Steve, kept saying to me, you've got to release this. It's fantastic. You've got to release it. And normally they don't say things like that. So I was thinking, maybe they hear something I don't. Because when you're working on something, you get so close to it. You're a bit like the artist with a drawing.
Yeah.
You have to go to the other side of the room and go to try and get the perspective. And it's like that with audio. I couldn't hear it for a while, to be honest. And then the jigsaw puzzle pieces came together, and then the video was the icing on the cake. And I am absolutely proud. I always try to do quality. I've done great videos with these 3 singles that we just talked about. It's funny, I have a relationship with Warner Music, who own the rights to Shy and Neverending Story. And they have a heritage label as part of the company called Rhino Records.
Yep.
But they haven't come knocking. So maybe I'm just too old at 66. I don't know what it is. But there you go.
Gotcha. Well, listen, your story's fascinating. I really appreciate you sitting in today, Limahl, and best of luck with everything you do.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. It was interesting hearing a completely different perspective on the breaking down the music and the construction of this song. It's just, it's fascinating that you're interested in that. It's been in depth.
The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. You see, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La 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 la.
Hey everybody, the song you're hearing right now is Limahl's incredible version of A Horse with No Name. So make sure you go check that out wherever you stream music. In fact, check out all of Limahl's music wherever you stream music. And don't go anywhere. We got lots more Chris DeMakes a Podcast coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Summer tastes like Tic Tac. Tantalize your taste buds this sunny season with citrus adventure and orange. 2 everyday flavors that bring summer in every. Tic Tac Citrus Adventure is a yummy, vibrant medley of lemon, lime, and mandarin. And Tic Tac Orange is the perfect mix of tangy and sweet. Visit us at Tic Tac USA on social to refresh your summer with Tic Tac.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. The Air Force Research Laboratory is partnering with Google Cloud using AI to accelerate defense research for air, space, and cyberspace forces. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Hey there, travelers. Kaylee Cuoco here. Sorry to interrupt your music, great artist BT Dubs, but wouldn't you rather be there to hear it live? With Priceline, you can get out of your dreams and into your dream concert. They've got millions of travel deals to get you to that festival, gig, rave, sound bath, or sonic experience you've been dreaming of. Download the Priceline app today, and you can save up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights. So don't just dream about that trip. Book it with Priceline.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Hey business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 110,000 bonus miles for a limited time through July 16th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends 7/16/25.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need.
Save $100 on the Craftsman V26 Tool Power Tool Combo Kit, now at $199. No matter what the project is, Craftsman's high-quality, high-performance products empower you to build on. Stop by your nearest Lowe's store and check out the full line of Craftsman tools today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Each week on the One Hit Thunder podcast, we take a look into a one-hit wonder band or artist to determine if they deserved more success or if they were lucky to even have a hit at all. With new episodes every Wednesday and special guests from the worlds of music and comedy, we always have nonstop fun, and maybe, if we're lucky, we discover some new favorite music. So if you love great songs and you often find yourself asking, whatever happened to that band? Check out One Hit Thunder wherever you get your podcasts.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris to Makes a Podcast, email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Girth Control. This is great. So these guys loved the episode with Nick from the Swellers when he gave the unexpected Meatloaf inspiration for their song. So these guys decided to try their own Meatloaf-inspired punk rock song. It's a 7+ minute long epic song about never giving up on your ska punk dreams. The band's made up of Bob on bass and lead vocals, Jay on guitar and lead vocals, and Mark on drums and lead vocals. And they're from Albany, New York. Here's a snippet of that song, Life's Too Short, Part 2.
The ones who don't have drinks in their hands. Your little victories are progress. Nobody's impressed with your childish bullshit. Haven't you had enough fun in your life? Haven't you had enough beer? Aren't you ready to move on to the next phase? You only get so many years. I'm telling you, life's too short for girth control. You got your head way up your ass as I tap the invisible watch on my wrist and laugh. And laugh.
The Rap with Chris and Chris.
So, Chris, it's pretty rare that the guest calls you out on not noticing something in the song. We're talking about a song from 42 years ago, and Limahl knew that you forgot about that one extra bar in the second chorus. That was awesome.
You know, it was awesome. And what's crazy is the song's 42 years old. You just said, how many artists have we had on the show, Chris, that have said, oh man, this is 35 years old. I don't remember. He is a singer, and I'm not taking anything away from Limahl. He may play instruments. He didn't allude to that, but usually the singers, they're not thinking about bars of music or a thing went longer. He shocked me, and I loved it. He schooled me on my own show.
He was awesome, man. You know I've been excited about this episode for a long time. And once again, we just talked about this on a recent episode, but this is proof that you should shoot your shot. Limahl saw Nick Rhodes from Duran in a club that he was working at, and he told him about his band and his music, and it was the serendipity of that chance meeting that led to what became this giant song. It's such a cool story.
Yeah, we talked about it early in the episode about, you know, how he can remember there was this green phone on the wall, and, you know, just casually, hey, it's Nick Rhodes. I mean, he was 22, 23 years old at this time, working at the Embassy Club, which, Chris, as a lot of the listeners know, I read tons of rock and roll biographies, autobiographies. I've seen the name The Embassy Club mentioned hundreds of times. That was the place to be. He was in the epicenter. He was ground zero for this movement of new wave and pop and dance music, and stars were hanging out. It had to be super exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool. Also, you know, he got into the excitement of the whirlwind of things that were happening. And when it comes to this song, Chris, I like that this song is basically about one thought. That thought being, hey, girl, come out of your shell and come spend some time with me. I know you and I have both been guilty of trying to tell an entire big involved story in a song when we're telling it. I know you all the time when you're doing custom songs for people, Chris, you kind of have to tell like this whole story of a relationship, but sometimes all you need is this one this one thought, and you could build a whole song around that one thought, that one feeling, that one experience.
And what's amazing is Limahl just basically was like, yeah, this was just poetry. This wasn't about a specific lady or love interest that he had in mind. It was just this poetry that was put to song. And what a minimal idea. I mean, the busiest we get here is the lyrics, really, of verse 1 and verse 2. That's where you get your information. Verse 2, modern medicine falls short of your complaint. I mean, crazy lines that just don't seem like they belong in a new wave dance pop song, but they're perfect.
Yeah, you have some elevated vocabulary here in this song, and I can imagine there may have been some simpler words at first, like you called out him using the word dilate. Dilate is not a thing that you normally hear in a song, but it makes sense. Open your eyes are dilating, and I think that's really cool. He got into even the phonetic sounds of the words. He said that was it the bass player who had written the chorus?
About the hush, hush, and shy, which is interesting, not to cut you off. Those are what you call plosives, okay? And what plosives mean, Chris, they come with F sounds and S, and you get that. And a lot of times we'll use what is known as a plug-in in recording called a de-esser. That's exactly what it means. It takes that harsh S off. So when you're thinking of a chorus, to lead off with harsh S sounds as the whole chorus is risky.
Yeah, it's cool. I didn't know. I thought plosives were only P's. I learned something new.
Well, maybe they are only P's. P's is another one. I always thought plosives was for the whole thing, but nonetheless, if plosives is only for P's, it gets it on S's and other things. And there's times where it drives me nuts. I'll have a great lead vocal, and I'm like, I have to cut this again. I cannot get this to sound right.
Right. I deal with plosives all the time, even on my own voice. I'm probably dealing with it every time I'm saying the word plosive. I know how to set up the EQ to kind of minimize those. And yes, there are plugins for that and stuff. You talked about the EBow in this episode. Maybe once or twice we've talked about it before. In my band in Punchline, the first time I ever saw an EBow was when we were using an EBow when we recorded our Action album with Sean O'Keefe. We had this like extended part between the 5th and 6th tracks where it creates this vibe. Have you used an EBow? I think we talked about this before.
I've never used one or I want to say I saw one in the studio one time. No, I've never used one, but it's great. And it's interesting that, he had talked about a lot of different bands from that era, but Flock of Seagulls was a band, Human League, that would use that tone a lot, that howling. It's very cool.
Right. It was cool. Also, Chris, in the end, he talked about some what ifs that we all have, and I don't know. There's a lot of things from along the course of my band's career or just my personal life. All of us, we all have what ifs, and it's okay to think about them and speculate, but it's also important to remember the what have happened. In Limahl's instance, you had a couple giant songs in your career, and you can tell when he's talking about them how much he appreciates that, and I think that's really cool. It came through.
Yeah, and as a guy, I think he called out his age near the end. He's in his mid-60s, and he's still trying to navigate the business. He's still trying to figure out, how can I make money from my songs? It's like, well, get viral on TikTok. He's
had some success with that.
Yeah.
The Stranger Things thing was insane because now we're talking about the Never Ending Story song here, but it wasn't like the song was just played on the show. It was two of the main characters singing the song. I saw it with my girlfriend's kid, Marquitte's kid, Rylan, knowing all the words to that song. It had a whole new resurgence, and that's a really cool thing too for an artist.
Yeah, you don't get much of a better plug than that. And speaking of plugs, Chris.
Oh, are we ready to plug? Did I have a plosive when I said plug?
My plosive plug. Hey, head over to ChrisDeMakes.com. That's where our Patreon is at, and you can sign up, and Chris and I will talk to you more each week. We have bonus episodes of the after party and all kinds of cool little surprises that we do in there. A lot of people say they like the after party better than the main show. I don't know how I feel about that, Chris, but it is what it is. For the price of a cup of coffee, you can help keep the podcast that you know show and love on the airwaves because these bills aren't going to pay themselves.
That's right.
ChrisDeMakes.com. And I understand we have a couple 5-star, not 4-star, 5-star Apple reviews, Chris.
Oh, we had a bunch of them. I picked one out. First of all, I want to call out you calling it our Patreon.
Patreon? I said Patreon.
Check out our Patreon over there. Yeah, I got a 5-star review. Hey, if you like our show, head to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave us those 5 stars. We appreciate it. And hey, maybe we'll read yours on here. Today, we got one. This is a 5-star review from Adam Flawless Wallace, who gave us 5 stars and said creative and informative. And here's what Adam Flawless Wallace had to say. I've been listening to Chris DeMakes a Podcast since episode 1. It scratches my itch for hearing any information on why and how my favorite artists write and record their songs, but it's also helped me as a songwriter myself with song structure, lyrical inspiration, and just what the magic is to writing a good song. They cover a wide variety of genres as well, so you get the best of all music, not just one subculture. Since starting this podcast, I've now gotten the courage to write and record around 20 songs. DeMakes and producer/co-host Fafalius have enough personal connections to the guests to really get their raw responses. Love, love, love. How about that review, Chris?
Wow. Flawless Lawless comes to the table with a killer 5-star review. Well, hey, Andy's his name? Andy Flawless Lawless?
No, you're thinking of the mixer, Andy Wallace. This is actually Adam Flawless Wallace.
Oh, Adam. Okay, right church, wrong pew.
And Chris, I also... Before we ended here, I also want to give a shout out. Speaking of 5 stars, I want to give a shout out to 5 of our Patreon. Now you got me saying Patreon.
It's Patreon.
5 of our Patreon supporters who keep the lights on over here. My buddy Johnny Itzgonish is one of them. Matt Vino, Blue Valentine, Andy Delton, and Scott Bacon. Those are the 5 people I want to shout out today. Thank you so much for being supporters of our show. We appreciate it.
I love it. Thanks so much. And thanks to each and every one of you for listening each week. As probably you already know, we've been doing this for 5 years, so obviously we love it, and we love that you listen to us. Want to thank this week's guest, Limahl, for sitting in, and we'll catch you next week. Hey, friends. Have you been loving Chris DeMakes a Podcast? Well, spread the love by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't hesitate to share what you enjoy about the show in an actual written review on Apple Podcasts. Not only does it help more people discover us, but we often read reviews in the wrap segment of the show. It's a quick, cost-free way to support us and takes just a minute of your time. Your reviews mean the world to us and help us keep the podcast thriving. Thank you for being a listener, and thank you for being a friend.
Hey, everybody, it's Chris DeMakes a Podcast producer, Chris Fafalius here. Hey, we want to create the best overall listening experience possible for you. So we'd appreciate your feedback about the show. We want to learn more about you, the listener, and your interests to provide the best experience possible for you and our sponsors who support the show. So we're asking if you'd please go to theshowsurvey.com/Chris to take a very short anonymous survey. It would help us out a lot, and as a reward, survey participants will be entered into a drawing to win a $100 Amazon gift certificate. Again, that's theshowsurvey.com/Chris for the quick survey to help the show. Each week, we'll select a winner for participating in this. So if you don't mind, just take a few minutes and do it. Thanks, everybody.